So, welcome to the panel discussion, folks. This is related to recruitment and so on, and job hunting, and also general careers advice for people in the tech sector. So, both in the general tech sector and also, do we have any data science type stuff going on here? Good. So, a little bit about data science as well, and data sciences. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do actually is first off allow each panelist, starting from the far end, to introduce themselves very briefly, just a little bit about what your company is, and we'll move on there to the next question after that. So we're going to be, we'll just sort of start off here. We might get a little bit noisy, but we'll just sort of get started all the same.
Okay.
Take it away.
Hello everybody, my name is Pablo Ramos. I'm the Vulnerability Detection Manager for Tenable Research here in Dublin. Tenable, it's within the vulnerability management industry. So we build from detection of vulnerabilities in different type of assets and connection up to all the information you can process with that to give companies a wide aware knowledge on the cyber exposure and how likely they are to security risks.
Cool. I also work at Tenable. I'm part of our recruitment team. So I'm helping kind of grow us across EMEA with a particular focus on hiring in Dublin.
I'm from Microsoft, and I don't think I need to introduce what Microsoft does.
Never heard of them.
But we have a team here in Dublin which is more sales oriented, but it covers the whole EMEA, and then we have engineering. So we have all the roles across the whole board. Anything you want, we probably have a role for you.
Cool. So I'm Carl, I'm from Telix. I hope by now we've all heard of Telix. If you haven't, Telix is a global telecommunications provider. So we do SIP trunking, real-time communication over the internet, all of that good stuff, and API powered. And we have an office here in Dublin, and we're hiring.
So my name is Stacey. I work for Brightwater. I'm the assistant manager of the recruitment team. So although we're not tech, we are recruitment, but we work with so many, whether it's tech, financial services, companies all over Ireland. We have offices in Dublin, Cork and Belfast, so it doesn't really matter where in Ireland you're looking for. But we have a team of 8 and we all specialise in different areas of IT and technology. So if you're looking for a job, come to us.
So the question is for Niall is, can you just give us a brief introduction of yourself and your team and your company and so on?
I'm Niall, I work for Starfleet. It hasn't been invented yet, so I'm working for Bank of America at the moment. And we work out in Sandyford. We're a big global bank. We do a lot of Python coding, we do a lot of other coding. We're a sponsor here today, and if you want to find anything out about it, you can go down to the desk or you can ask me, and we have open roles rolling all the time.
Good stuff, yeah. So that's we've introduced everybody here now. So a key thing is that I take it that the idea is that everyone is recruiting here. But essentially a sort of question I always thought was a bit strange, but now I'm starting to really see the value of it, as it sends a very important signal about the company, is the company values, actually. It's a sort of, it sounds like a bit of a weird question to start with, but can you sort of give us a quick indication, a quick steer, or if you don't know for sure, because it's a bit of a strange one, just sort of what you think it might be, or what would you like to think of your company as in terms of values, like Do you want to? I'll give you a few prompters like curiosity.
Well, I can start.
Yeah, you took it away there. Yeah.
So Microsoft lately has been working towards diversity and inclusion. That's one of the biggest things we are working towards now. So it's not just about inclusion as in, or diversity as in different people, but also also inclusion with it, how we include. It can be a small things that somebody's feeling awkward. That's exclusion. But that also is inclusion. So we are doing a lot of these diversity and inclusion. And another thing Microsoft is focused on is on growth mindset. So going away from that closed mindset, this is how we have done always. But now, okay, what do you think? How should we do it? And another thing we have at Microsoft is our mission, which is empower each and every person and organization on the planet. And I think both of the values I've talked about before goes into it very well.
Yeah, that's good stuff, yeah. So, do anyone else take that one? I know it's a sort of strange one. I might have put a. Yeah, go on, yeah.
So probably, unlike everyone else here, Bank of America started in 1927 or something like that. And I'm going to give you a good misuse of numbers. If there are 100 people in Ireland and one guy earns 100 million euros, on average, everybody earns, that divided by 100. But the reality is that most people don't. So economics are not actually always a great indicator of how people's lives are actually running. And the second thing is that women in the home, if you measure it correctly, over the 30s, 40s, 50s, particularly the 50s, 60s, contributed 55% of GDP of every country. So imagine even in the war in 1950s America when they were trying to put the country back together. Because kids and families were looked after and fed and the next generation was brought into existence, women contributed more than the entire economy of America trying to rebuild America. So Bank of America has been diverse for a long time. The mentality has always been face it up front, don't run from it. So maternity leave, paternity leave, how to manage your career while you're having kids, all that stuff is drastically important because the bottom line has always been if you're not bringing the next generation in, there is no next generation. There's no world, there's no nothing. So to fast forward to now, that has been the mantra of the company for as long as I've been there. The CEO who's in at the moment unusually faced all the fines and paid them instantly, absorbed all the debts, took care of them. My team have got 40% female hire. It's actually hard to do because we just can't find enough of you out there. It's really tricky, but they're there. I think we have a person from almost every country in the world, 2 gay people, and 40% women. We've got the most diverse we've ever had now. But it's a fun place to work outside of that. But being curious, like my friend said here, another company that has a long track record in the world, one of the most important things. So if you're curious and diverse and you like Star Trek, you know what I say, beam out there, yeah, there you go.
Yeah. I'll just say if anybody wants to take that or I'll move on.
I've got another one. So
Okay, yeah.
one of our values is called One Tenable. So basically, we want every single person within the organisation, whether they're an office administrator or the CEO, every single person within our company plays a big part. So part of our onboarding process is we send new hires out to America to learn more about us, but there's also you get to meet firsthand the CEO and the leadership team. So it's not like working for a more larger company where there's hierarchy. Everybody is part of a team. Everybody is accessible, which for me, as a recruiter and a candidate, which I was about a year ago, I wanted to be part of something and not just kind of be a number. And as an applicant, I thought that was very good. So, and it's a good place to be. We do have a Guinness tap in the office, which a lot of people do like.
Yeah, quite an open ping pong tournament.
Yeah, so we are growing. We've over the last sort of 2.5 years, we've hired over 100 people in Dublin. We've got sort of three offices. We're a growing company. We've got a lot of positions open, so it's a very good place to be for us. I'm sure Pablo can tell you a bit more as well.
I think, from the research point of view or within the engineering org, I think it's a grand place to be where you have to tackle different problems all at once. Number one, because of the industry we're in, we have to so much diversity within the things we have to learn, the curiosity that we need to spark within teams, and how those problems actually can impact. Outside of that, is one of the core values is deliver results, or what we do matters. Because even if in the core of what we do, even on the technical side, just validating that something is vulnerable or not to a certain attack, exploit, or whatever, where you're trying to bring this continuity to whatever your customers are trusting you to find. That being spread about, think about protocols, operating systems, and everything you can touch, you had to have a curious mind. because otherwise you're just gonna settle for what you know, and actually the next thing you might need to tackle is completely different to what you're used to. So I think it's, within the research team, we try to encourage people just to bring new problems to the table, to look at things that we have been doing wrong, and just change them. You can, I think it's really important that you can bring some problem to the table. It doesn't matter if it is to your peer, to the director, to the CTO, to the CEO. You can go there and say, hey, we screwed it up big time this time. Can we start fixing it? And then just probably prioritize on that. And that's driven bottoms up. So I think that's a really cool value, something that we can see within the Tenable teams. It doesn't matter which place in the org you are. If you find something that can be improved, let's just raise it. Let's grab a bunch of people who want to continue to fixing different problems, and let's just make it better.
So I suppose one of the values that Telnix espouses, well, I mean, so our mission statement is to make universal communications possible, but we also espouse a number of kind of internal values, and we shorten them to being hashtags. So if anyone got the socks that we were giving out, did anyone get the socks?
Yeah.
Does anyone have them? Can you read what's on the foot, like on the bottom?
It's very
Audience
useful.
participation is
It's
the
very
best,
practical,
right?
yeah.
Really practical. Walk the walk, right? Do what you say you're going to do, and it's one of the most important values in Telnix. We value diversity of thought and opinion just as much as we value diversity of people and country and all of those other things. But at the end of the day, do what you say you're going to do is the most important value. And there's also other things. Stay gritty, you know. We're a startup, we're about 150 people, so we try all the time to do as much as we can with as little as possible. And servant leadership, you know. We're all there to lead. No one is above doing any job, right? One of my first days in Telnix, I saw our CEO standing there in a suit on top of a ladder changing a light bulb. You know, no one is above doing any job. And that's one thing that makes Telnix such a good place to work. If you find a problem, you're completely empowered to go fix it yourself. Don't ask for permission, just do it.
Good stuff. I think that's everyone, yeah?
Yeah, I was going to say I'll approach it in a bit of a different way because obviously we're recruitment, and I think one of the main things that's become really, that we've noticed a lot this year is values. You know, culture is one of the main things from a candidate's point of view when they're interviewing for a job. It's one of the first questions that they're asking, you know, in interviews, or they're trying to get that information. Is this the right place for me to work? What are your values? What is your culture? And then from a company point of view, it's so important for them to know that. They need to know what their values are, what their culture is, to be able to explain that to the people in the market now, because it's one of the main things. It's up there on one of the top lists with benefits and salary is what are your values, what are your cultures? Are you supporting women in tech? Are you supporting, I don't know, learning new technologies? You know, what are your values? So I think it is important to understand from you as a candidate point of view what's important to you when you're interviewing and when you're choosing a company, because you're going in now and it's so important to, you don't want to be jumping around from job to job and you don't want that on your CV at the end of the day. So you need to know when you're making a decision in choosing your next career choice, is your values matching the company values that you're going to be joining? So I think that's quite important as well.
Good stuff, yeah, that's grand, yeah.
I would like to add something to yours, that
Yeah.
when you're in an interview process, it's not just company is interviewing you, you're interviewing the company.
Yeah.
That's more
Yeah.
important. Expect
it's a
it.
two-way process.
Yeah.
Except if they think that in the interview, then they'll fire you.
Yeah.
But,
I always give time in an interview for a candidate to ask questions, and that's usually the part where candidates have the best opportunity to impress me. You know,
Yeah.
all the technical stuff aside, if you have good questions, good insights, that's usually the part I enjoy.
You get to know them a little bit more then as well, from a personal standpoint, more so than just speaking about your experience.
Good stuff, yeah. I'd actually want to ask some just more like mundane questions now. So obviously everyone here is interested in hiring and recruiting, or that's part of the process here. So specifically, what are your sort of goals in the short term with regard to hiring and recruiting, let's say locally to Dublin or Ireland? Who do you want to meet? Who do you want to be walking through your door on a Monday morning next time? So from the end there, we'll take it again.
I will go again for the curiosity part of things, especially in the team I'm part of within Tenable. Is curiosity is key, and you can see that whether in a person, and that's right, the personality you're gonna see, because you're gonna be sitting next to that person or talking to that person on a day-to-day basis. You want that spark of how things work, how can I break things, how can I improve things all the time, going just in a constant process. I think that is something that highlights from wouldn't being the interviewer or the interviewee. It's something that it's good to highlight, because we know the market it's full of opportunities at different jobs. We try to highlight and what we believe that what we're doing is a good challenge and a good set of skills that people can grow within they come to the company, and that's something we try to showcase all the time. But that's 50% of the stuff. The rest is what the candidate wants to bring to the company, what the candidate wants to improve his or her skills on, and what's the long term that you can provide. I think that the key is bring people who enjoy what they do, and because at some point if you stop enjoying it, you quit. That's as simple as it gets.
So, yeah, do you want to continue on there? Actually sort of, I might even just add a little bit. You can actually just sort of, we want to add data scientists, or we want Pythonistas as well, like, you know, that, just a sort of more like a clear picture of like, should I apply for this job, or, you know, do you have jobs that I'm good for?
It's hard to say about Microsoft because we're so big.
Yeah.
And another thing is that I won't be talking Microsoft globally or Microsoft Ireland. I will only be talking about Microsoft, the little part I am part of.
Yeah.
Because I'm part of an org which is just my org. It's more part of Microsoft, which is 800 people.
Yeah.
And that's a sales org. So I know that we are looking for like 200 engineers in Dublin, and I heard somebody say that Dublin is going to be second Redmond soon. So we are, as Microsoft is putting a lot of money into recruitment and making Dublin a big development hub, engineering hub, and we are in process of creating a new building for engineers, so that it's going to be all engineering culture there, nothing sales, nothing finance or anything, just engineers. And there are all sort of roles. Like we are looking for data scientists, we're looking for analysts, we're looking for engineers. Like just go to careers.microsoft.com and you will find your job, your dream job there. You will find it. It's there somewhere.
Dream job?
Yes, dream job. Last I checked, there was, what was it, about 10,000 open positions globally.
And none of them are for Telnix, so you won't find your dream job
My dream job is pouring ice cream all day. Simple things.
Well, we're talking here data scientists, we're talking here Python.
Yeah. Anyway, so it's Carl, I'll let you move on to that. You can tell us what about Telnix or...
So, that's a great question. Katie, what are we hiring for right now? I mean, we can go to telnix.com/careers, but it would be really rude for me to pull my phone out.
Yeah, so we're hiring for Python engineers.
Python engineers, yeah.
We're hiring for Elixir engineers, Java engineers, like DevOps, pretty much everything.
So Telnix is still a pretty small company. We're about 150 people globally, and in Dublin we're around 40-ish?
Almost 50 as well.
Almost 50 in Dublin. Our other main office is in Chicago, and then we have two smaller offices that are starting up in Sao Paulo and Warsaw. And we kind of recruit globally as well, because it's really hard to find talent, particularly for things that we're recruiting for, like, does anyone here know Elixir? Like two guys.
Okay.
And that's like pretty much all the Elixir engineers in Ireland in one room.
For the folks watching this on YouTube, Elixir, yeah.
Please
Just
don't
keep
get
going.
bus guys, you're the only two.
Yeah, the only two, maybe that guy as well.
Well,
Question there. Now, if it's so hard to find talent, what are you doing to groom talent?
So I just for the mic, I'll just repeat that question. If it's so hard to find talent, what are you, and let's address this to all tech companies doing to develop that talent? That's actually quite a good question.
That's a really good question, and I wish I had a really solid answer for you. We do get out into the community and support events like PyCon and ElixirCon and try and help support talent. We benefit enormously from open source and from this community, so we try and give back to it as much as we can. In terms of grooming our own talent, we do take people on in lower positions, like we do have support people. They're all mostly CS grads, new people like that who are getting into the field, and they help with our customer queries and support. And we do have a role for them to move out into, which would be becoming Python engineers and so on after that. As for direct, how would you say, like mentorship, it's something we're looking into. Again, we've always had the excuse that we're kind of small, but we can't do that forever, so we are trying to build a mentorship program and foster that. I mean, that's really the best way to build talent, is to grow it yourself, but like, it's kind of hard when there's about 150 of you and you're rushing to meet deadlines and to get product out the door, and build a company at the same time. So as we grow, we'll be looking to address that better, I think. But for now,
We'll come back to that question. That's a good question. But actually, we'll go back to the original question there shortly and let Stacey from Brightwater continue. But you can address the second question as well if you want.
Yeah, so basically as I said before, we cover all areas of IT. So right now, I'd say this year alone has been the busiest year we have been in quite a while, and I think that's because we're at full employment. But really what it comes down to, what we're hiring for is Java developers, Python developers, Scala developers, data science, machine learning. Then we cover a big area of security, infrastructure support. So it really it expands right out to the whole of IT. The main areas we're finding a little bit tricky right now, and I think it's probably like everybody else, like you just said, the Java, the Python, it's a difficult area. One job in particular that we find is probably one of the most exciting ones we've worked in quite a while is we're working with a company right now that work with NASA, so it's space technology. You know, they're basically working on the software that astronauts are using in the space station. So we have some really interesting stuff. These companies don't necessarily advertise themselves, they come directly to us. They ask us to find them. We've placed people in there, so we know their culture, we know their environment. So yeah, we've got everything open for all walks of IT. To answer the question that you had asked about what companies are doing to help improve and you know, basically help their people, their employees build on those technologies and those experiences. For example, we would be working with companies that are building out big data teams, and you know, there's a lot of different niche skill sets like Apache and Spark, and that not a lot of people have. But if they're a Java environment, maybe they've touched on some cloud and they've got good cloud experience. Companies are being very, very open about how your attitude comes across in interviews and how open you are to learning and growing, and maybe speaking about previous times of roles that you worked in that you may not have known something, but I worked on this project that I learned it. So there is a lot of that. A lot of companies will write a job spec or a job advertisement as a wish list, not necessarily you must have all of these areas. So it's more about your confidence in yourself as well, and being able to speak about that in the interview and sell yourself in a way that, you know, you're in technology, you're more than capable of learning something new. It's been given that chance, it's been given that opportunity. So that's from my point of view.
For us, if you're clever, courteous, compassionate, they're the right things I'm kind of looking for in people, curiosity as well. The roles are on careers.bankofamerica.com. There's Python, Java, but you can check all that out yourselves. There's no need for me to tell you that. You preempted something I was going to say. I've hired many people over the years that have no computing degree. They've actually come to PyCon and Python IE, and they've learned how to do it themselves and been on the upswing. And there is enough in their character to see there that they can go on the rest of the way. You can't know what we do inside every day. In fact, most of us printed on the pamphlets is a lie. You know, it is. It's what you put in a dating profile. It's like, oh, I'm this. No, you're not any of that. You're a regular human being like everyone. And these are regular jobs. At times they're tough. At times they're easy. At times they're fun. They're all of that. But my job, if anyone comes in, is to just support you on day one. All the training is there. The universities are in the bank. If you're curious and competent, you have a little bit of programming, problem solving, you're that type of person, you will get on fine. And it actually is better to have some people who aren't computer scientists in, because your real world experience will probably make us look at something different. Perspective is key at surviving in this game. And if you hired the top 100 best engineers, you're going to have the top 50 best fights in the world you've ever seen. So it's not always about that. So come up to me later or talk to me about it. But yeah, that's what we're looking for. So just, if you're that type of person, please, I'm interested to hear from you.
I'll actually sort of, we'll come back to that question again, because that's sort of one, but I was starting to have one actually in mind for just now, just to sort of follow from my question there, which was just actually like the interview process. Like, this is sort of like do's and don'ts, horror stories, if you will. Like, you know, what has really worked? What sort of secret tricks have really worked? And what has really sort of put you off a candidate, like, you know?
I can start with this one. So obviously I interview people on a daily basis. If I was to ask each and every one of you, if you was to prepare for an interview, what would be the top 5 things you would do? So let's start with that first, and then I can kind of give you some guidance.
So does anybody sort of from the audience, and just direct it to me so I can repeat it for the mic.
So you go to the company website
Yep.
and you watch through their values
Yep.
and all that things through their organization, what projects they did. If the company delivers something like a consultancy company, or
Yeah.
who they deliver, who are their customers,
Yeah.
who is the end user of what they do. If you provide stuff for telecom, who are your customers? Because there is also Qualcomm, there are other companies, there are competitors. So to see what's going on,
Yeah.
that's number one. Then you look through the people and you look at their LinkedIn, you go on LinkedIn and you see their profiles, and then you see the role you apply for, you see somebody in the company within a similar role, and also you go on LinkedIn and see, their profile.
So just for the record, the audience member has sort of said, generally, just do your research on the company, what they're doing, what their projects are, who the competitors are, and so on.
Okay, so yeah, that's a really good point. One of the guys touched on it earlier. In terms of when you go to interview, it's a two-way process. So as if a company is just interviewing you, it's probably not really the right company for you. You've got to ask questions back, because it's an opportunity, right? If you come for an interview at Tenable for whether it's a sales role or engineering, we're obviously going to interview you, but you have to interview. It has to be a two-way process, because it's not going to work. So you won't believe how many people have actually come to interviews, not at Tenable, but previously, who haven't done any research. So that is pivotal. LinkedIn and social media kind of gives you a conversation to have an interview. So if, for example, Pablo might have written something, you can bring that up in an interview. So it shows you've done your research and your homework, which for me as a recruiter or a hiring manager, that's pivotal, right? Because it means the person that's coming in for an interview is passionate and wants to learn. So it's definitely a good one.
So does anybody else want to hazard a guess, and sort of come up with any ideas about, just to follow up on that, what they would do to sort of prepare for an interview? We've already addressed researching companies. Does anybody have anything else?
Well, I actually have a hack that will get you any job if you want it.
Go on.
Do you want to hear it?
Let's hear this hack.
I guarantee you, okay? You're interviewing against a human being, all right? The human being has a mind, and all you have to do is work along with that mind, and you're one of their tribe and you get the job. So the first thing you do, obviously you need to know about the company, right? But never stall on a question you can't answer. Just politely park it to the end. It'll be forgotten about. It will, and the interview won't stall. I'm not lying, I don't lie, I'm telling you the truth. I'm trying to help you here. That's one thing. The second thing you do is you do know about the company, right? But it's very important that you do know a little bit about the company and are interested in what they're doing, because you are becoming one of their tribe. And you know, if you go abroad and you meet someone who's from your own country who speaks your own language, he could be from Laois and I'm from Carlos, and normally we kill each other, right? It's just the way it is. But and it's GAA tribal stuff. Is there a Laois person down there? No. Hey, Laois, anyway, but once you make that connection, it doesn't matter where you are. I think even Ronald Reagan said, if aliens come down, there'll be no war on Earth, right? Because we have something else to face up to. So when you make that connection, that immediately resonates. Your technical stuff is easy enough to write down and reel off. Don't write it down somewhere so you don't stall on it. You don't want to be your words. Say it out clearly and all of that. But people will remember how they felt. They never remember your words, ever, ever. A bad marriage is all about, we felt horrible all the way through it. There's no one word or conversation. It just was never right. A good interview, if you get that connection there, it's fine. You go. There's so many names. There's so many details. You go back and you go, I like that. But yeah, no, that person would work well in this team. I can see they can visualize you coming in, sitting down at the desk. They see you in there already. You're in then at that point. And that's really what an interview is, a chance. Like, look inside yourself and ask what your character is. And then just come in and say, this is what I've done, but this is how I've done it. And I really value myself. I'd love to come in and work for you, because I think I can do the same thing for you. What a great opening to an interview. Delighted to hear all the rest of your stuff after that. Smiles on faces.
I'll just bring in some of the other panelists there. Stacey.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's a very it's strong.
It works.
It does work. It's the likability factor. You're not going to hire somebody you don't like.
No,
At the end of the day, it's that
Yeah.
human factor is so important. Another element of it is as well, and I see this all the time with people that don't get the job, and it's because they don't take preparation serious enough. So yeah, you can go onto the website, you can, you know, get the likability factor in, but if you go in with the expectation that, okay, I know how to do this job, it's fine, you know, I'll be able to wing it, it's okay. 9 times out of 10, it doesn't work that way. You need to know the job spec, and you need to know where on your CV and where on your experience ties in to the job that they're looking to fill. So what value, you know, you need to ask that question to yourself during that interview is, what value can I actually bring to this role? What can I do that's going to help you on this project? So that could be you speaking about a project that you have done in your previous company or where you're currently working that ties in with something that they're doing. Oh, you're moving into the cloud. Okay, I've done this at my previous company. These are the tech that I've used. These are the tools that I've used. This is where I might be able to help. That opens up a conversation then for them to say, okay, so you can do this. You can help us here. It's very, very, very important that you prepare that before you go in, because if you don't, you could stumble on your words, you could forget. Everybody gets nervous. We're human beings. It's only natural. We can tend to ramble a little bit when we do get nervous. So it's important that you're giving good, detailed answers. You're not going off topic, you know, because that automatically gives the interviewer thinking, okay, no, they don't know what they're talking about, because you're talking around the question rather than answering it. So good detail, giving them examples, you know, being quick and precise in your answers. And really just speaking of the value, and confidence is key in an interview as well. And that should, I think, and adding your piece to it as well, it should definitely work.
We
Should
should
get the
do
job.
we should do an interview course.
We
Make a lot of
should.
money off
Come
this.
to us.
Yeah.
Just for the last two panelists there.
One thing you should never forget is be yourself. Don't try to be somebody else, because they will see through that. Just be yourself. Whatever, like, if you don't know anything, own it up in the interview, because it will shine through.
Just to add to that, there's always been situations where you feel like you've done badly. Stick around to the end, please.
Yes.
Because, can I tell the story, Katie? Okay, so I was next to go to interview a candidate, and I walked into the room, and he had escaped, and he was gone. Gone. Like, he had a video call with someone else, and he went, oof, that didn't go well, flee. And he had gone out of the office past everyone, no one noticed where he was going. And actually, like, it was his perception, he thought it just didn't go well. And actually the feedback from the first interview was, he did okay, yeah. We asked some tough questions and, you know, it went okay. But that person just got it in their head so quick that they'd completely blown this chance.
I think it's important to
So
always tell a candidate that if it's going to be a tough question,
Yeah.
don't freak out. Sometimes there's no answer to a question,
Sometimes it's
like
the-
life.
It's your
Yeah.
approach, it's how you react.
And,
It's a-
and in addition to all the good advice you've gotten here, like, I mean, doing your homework and getting prepared for interviews, that's some of the best work you can do in terms of your career anywhere, right?
Sliding a 50 across the table, you'd be surprised. You never know. You never know.
50, come on.
Oh, yeah.
150.
Buy a coffee. I drink really posh coffee.
What I think overall is that any interview process is a two-way relationship. Like, the company has to, like, when you're designing your own interview process for the team you're on, you try to have that the person is going to go through is going to have a good experience, and that he knows which one, on each one of the steps he's going to go through. For most of the engineering roles, it's going to be a technical assessment, so you know you're going to have some technical questions going to be asked. You know that you're not going to be questions related to how do you feel with failure, how do you feel with sometimes stress or hard problems, or how are you going to react. But overall, the experience you have to give to anybody interviewing with you along the process in the company has to be a good one. In the same sense that if you're being interviewed, you need to have a good time, because the persons that are interviewing you are going to be your peers. You're going to be working with them a lot of time. So sometimes it can be like a dream job, but if you went through the interview process and you didn't enjoy any of the people that were interviewing you, you didn't have that connection, sometimes it's even just to let one go and look for the next. Because it's outside of the bed where it's actually you're going to spend like 30% of your life, the job is probably going to be the next one. Because you're 9 to 5 or 9 to 6 or it doesn't matter what work schedule you're going to have, that's where you spend most of your time. So like I normally try, within Tenable, we try to, based on the different teams, based on the different skill sets or the different things that we need to do, we try to have a different kind of interviewing process so it's more accurate as possible. It's true, we do have a technical assessment within the research team that some of the times people might not feel that technical assessment, they never send it back. And sometimes you realize some of those questions are just to push the extreme out of some knowledge, because we know we can fill the gaps. and it's all tied up. Like, if you, let's go by stages. When you meet with somebody from HR, like you need to ask all the questions about how is the process, what you want to know about the company, what's the feeling on the, I don't know, compensation, extra benefits, time off schedules, personal days, paternity leaves, maternity leaves, anything you want to think about. When you're going with your hiring manager, just try to figure out what that person wants to get from the team. What is he envisioning the team? What he wants, what's the problems they want to solve within the team? What's the challenges he's going to have for you based on your profile? It's not just filling a job description. It's finding people that are going to be pieces of a team that all together are going to solve it. Are going to deliver products, are going to solve issues, are going to hard times, because it happens every single company. Then when you go to your peers, what is going to be your peers, just do you enjoy talking with them? Can you ask them about the day-to-day job? Can you ask them about the things they don't like about their job? Because everybody who's telling you that they love 100% of the things they have to do in their job, it's going to be lying. Like, please raise your hand if you enjoy doing your expense reports. I don't know any single person that likes to do an expense report. I hate them. I have to do them.
I like
Accountants really like expense reports.
Yeah.
I'm an accountant in my heart for you.
Yeah, no. That's my 2 cents. Sorry, I extended a little bit.
Yeah, no, just actually, just a sort of there's a couple of we'll sort of the question about increasing the pipeline. Actually, I just have a couple of variants on it. Like, one actually is about like lifelong learning and career professional development in your company. Now, conscious of the fact that we're starting to run out of time, I might ask you just a quick 2 or 3 minute points for the whole way for the panelists. Yeah.
I can go.
Yeah, that'll be half an hour, man. Yeah, 2 or 3 sentences.
So.
2 or 3 sentences. You want to take it?
Yeah, I can do it. So at Tenable we have internal resources. So we use something called Udemy, which is an online platform for resources and development. We also have a career development plan as well. So part of our goals for 2020, just come back from the US in terms of our HR kind of global kickoff, is to basically retain talent. So we've got some fantastic people within Tenable, and we want to retain and keep them. And we not just by, you can give someone more money, right? But that's not about just keeping someone. You have to make sure that there's a career plan for them. So that's something that's key for us. So yeah, I think it's I joined the company a year ago to do just sales recruitment, and now I'm kind of doing everything. So for me, that's kind of widening my scope and dealing with different personalities, different hiring managers. So, and there's an opportunity for me to kind of go to the next level. And we have that all across the board. So we've kind of taken people recently they've come in as a technical support engineer, and they've recently just joined our security engineering team. So they go out to customers with the sales guys to basically make sure the deal kind of gets over the line from a technical point of view, but they started as a tech support engineer. So there is a lot of kind of growth and development area within Tenable.
Can I add 1 sentence?
Mm-hmm.
So for us, we work with vulnerabilities. So for us, it's key to know what they are, how you can find them, how you can fix them. So something special that goes related that probably it's not related to platforms, it's not related to universities or anything. It's about time. So one of the rotations we have, we call it 0-day rotation. So any of the engineers is going to take 2 weeks out of their day-to-day job. We don't have to do anything related to whatever they do. They just pick something to learn, or exploit the software or find vulnerabilities or something, and they spend 2 weeks at it with our dedicated 0-day team as mentors. So that's one way we say, like, okay, if you can stop whatever you do for 2 weeks in a rotation period, then you can dedicate your own time to something that you really want to learn. Does everybody find vulnerability? No, definitely, that's not going to happen. That's not why we have it. We have it so you can have a certain times of your day-to-day during the year that you can repeat, that you can just look for something new to learn. That's the main idea of it.
Okay. Anyone else?
What's the question, the pipeline?
It was sort of more like the lifelong learning, and this was what actually I was sort of going to add in, particularly for Brightwater, maybe suit Brightwater a bit better. It's actually like about older people who are retrained or coming into the workforce. Yeah. Like they're 30s or 40s, they're not college graduates, and they've done something else. and they want to retrain. They're coming into the tech sector.
Okay.
Now they're coming out of university programs, but really a bit of real world advice. What would you give there?
Yeah, I mean, there's always a trickiness to that, and I think there always has been. You know, kind of coming from a different career and coming into IT, and you know, really been able to find a job you want in IT. It is tricky, and it's always going to be difficult. The best advice that we have always given is start from the beginning. You know, you might have been a senior accountant in your previous position, and you've gone back and you want to train now to be a developer. You just have to go in with the understanding that you're gonna have to start from the bottom and grow yourself up. So whether you're going in as help desk support, technical support, and your aim and your growth is to be a developer, you need to be asking those questions in the interview as well. You need to be saying, I've got my graduate degree, I'm up on GitHub, I'm working on projects, I'm doing this, and you need to show the work that you're doing. But you have to go in at the understanding that you do have to start from a support maybe level role, or go in as a graduate developer and pay your dues and show what you can do and have that confidence. It's a tricky one to answer, because there's there's companies out there that, you know, they want experience. They want 1 year, they need 2 year experience, and I get phone calls on a daily basis of how can I get that year experience when nobody will give me that opportunity, and it's so difficult to do that. But the best advice that I have given is, you know, be out there on the platforms like the likes of GitHub, and maybe do some freelance work. Really get yourself out there, have your projects on your CV, show your work, be able to show what you can possibly do, and you know, apply for the junior level roles, whether it's help desk or grad, and just try get your foot in the door as best you can, and find out from those companies. Have a look on their LinkedIn. Have they got graduate developers? How did they get in there? Maybe connect with them on LinkedIn. Have conversations with them. How did you do it? How did you get your chance? How did you get in there? It's hard, it's tough, but that's the best advice I can give. Yeah.
I can add to that. I'm actually a software engineer. I don't really do the HR side of things or the recruitment side of things. They just asked me to sit here. So I read a lot of CVs, and CVs are pretty boring. I mean, a CV is you communicating to your potential future employer about you, right? So as an engineer, I usually look for your GitHub page or your Bitbucket or whatever you use, and I start looking through your code, and I might go back to read your CV later on if I'm that bored. But I usually find people's projects and what the kind of problems they're interested in far more interesting than anything they've written in their CV or what their past life was. And it's cool if you've had experience in a different area, you have some knowledge or information that's really useful to us, that's awesome. But if you're a really good developer and you care about the work you want to do, that's even more important to me, I think.
Just on the pipeline thing there, Kevin, sorry. So there's a program going on in the bank at the moment, because the people who do manual jobs and settle trades and move money and spreadsheets and all of that, their job will eventually go away in the future more and more. So they're all being retrained right now. I'm teaching Python and Java, and we're all pitching in and work. There's a 1 year like a postgrad program. It has 2 semesters. People are calling it Technology for All, Tech for All. And the idea coming from our CTO, who's a woman by the way, is to retrain this workforce so that in 5 years those people who know exactly how that business works are the ones helping automate it and driving it. So these people will have skills in Sprint, Agile, Scrum, all that stuff. So internally, if there is a pipeline, there's an open university in the bank, there's programs of people, mentors dedicated to moving you along. So you're not going to get pigeonholed. And then externally, that is really, I was just going to say, it's really good advice you've given on the GitHub thing as well. You do need to, you know, if you're new to the game, this event is a critical one to come to for a start. This is where you make a connection. LinkedIn, you will make a connection. You'll find me in LinkedIn easy. I look as stupid as this now, all the time. And yeah, have something. Be like if it's a bit of a hobby for you and you have a GitHub page, people can see what you're thinking. And don't worry too much if the code's a bit sloppy. You know, just
everyone's code's sloppy.
Everyone's code is sloppy. But persistence is a great thing, and finishing something is better than starting 10 things. So,
yeah, and you know, there's an internal term in most engineering teams. This is good enough for production, but it's not good enough for GitHub. The code you see on GitHub, the code you see on GitHub is people have really made an effort to make that look clean, because the code that's really running stuff is really ugly. I mean, I don't want to.
Generally, like your real life versus your first date life.
Yeah,
You know,
I
it's
mean,
completely
banks-
different bucket of lives.
Banking is still built mainly on COBOL. No one looks on COBOL on GitHub. Like,
Do you work in a bank?
I don't.
You'll
No.
have to retract that statement, sir.
All the COBOL developers I've met tell me banking still runs on COBOL.
It used to.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think we're actually running low on time.
Many good questions, Kevin.
Yeah. Any questions? We've even
What
time
happened
for
to the
one,
stuff
be
we're not
honest?
supposed to talk about?
This is when the camera turns off. We have to have cameras.
That used to be an on-camera question.
No, is this actually? I think we're coming to like it's quarter now. Is it?
Yeah.
I think we'll have to formally wrap it up here. But if anybody in the audience was asking a question too, I went down a little bit. But it's coffee break time as well. But we'll keep going here for a minute or two. There you go.
I just I was wondering about the sort of the whole thing of work-life balance is starting to become, I think, a bit more important. Certainly in the past 5 years, it's been becoming more and more of a theme in companies that I've been looking at, and you know, things like being set up for more remote work and stuff like that, allowing people that kind of flexibility. So is that something that's that you see as becoming more and more important, and how, like, at what level does that stop at then, you know, and you know, how far do you push it?
Well,
Sorry, what's your name? What's that?
Sorry,
man's name?
just
Larry.
Larry. Just Larry's question was related to work-life balance and also a little bit about was it remote working essentially and developing that. So we'll keep it very brief now because we have to let some people out
I
here.
can say Microsoft is in business of creating remote work. So we are creating technology so that it enables everybody else to do remote work, and we embrace the technology ourselves. So in Microsoft we have the saying, you eat your own dog food.
Yeah.
You eat dog food?
Yeah.
So in Telnix, we support remote workers. So we do have people who are full-time remote all over the world, and we try and make sure that everything's just as inclusive. So in my team, we have people in Estonia and in Argentina and in Dublin. So we try and support that, and we also support things like having better work-life balance. We offer people unlimited time off, things like that. And we do have perks and stuff that reflect that, but we'll talk about perks off camera. Don't embarrass everyone.
Yeah, there's remote working in the bank, but we don't encourage the perks to keep you in the office in the bank, actually. So some of the perks you get in the bank are like 30 days free childcare a year in case there's an emergency that you can use up. Courses on parenting with kids. There's a lot of stuff because it's work-life balance, right? And at some point you hit that stretch of your life where you have bigger commitments, illness, stuff like that. So there's a whole package designed around you not dropping out of the workforce and being able to stay in the workforce. And it's actually it's a big problem worldwide because it's like there's a world of things, real like people and buildings, and you have to get around it and negotiate with it. It's not all apps and online and signing in and out. So it's a vital thing in the bank and all the remote stuff we have. Yeah.
I am finding as well, I mean, over the course of the year, it's been one of the main things that's been spoken about throughout all of the companies that we work with. Companies that are not using it, or they're not promoting work-life balance or flexible working hours or remote work, are not as competitive as the companies that are. So like we do a salary survey every year and we look at what's most important to everyone, to all of you, whether that be benefits, salary, work-life balance, flexible working hours. Salary has dropped down and flexible working hours and work-life balance as at number one. That is the main key thing that everybody focuses on now, because if you're exhausted and you're working every single hour under the sun and you're unhappy, you're not going to stay in that job. You're going to move on. It's becoming more difficult for companies to recruit now the people that they need, whether it be a Python developer or a Scala developer. They don't want to lose that person. So companies are starting to move with the times more and more so now than they ever have been, and I think we're going to see it more move even further as time goes on.
So one more question there again.
Yeah.
Sorry.
What are the most important skills you expect from a data scientist?
What are the most important skills from a data scientist? I think this is sort
He can
of.
pronounce data properly.
Yeah.
No data scientists need a
I'm get out of there. Okay. Unfortunately,
Are you a statistician? Like, if you ask me for that, like on data science, outside of the technical skills, I think the understanding of where are you based or which type of data you are looking at. like put that data into context, get that data into the business. Like we work on vulnerability, like we work with vulnerabilities. It's hard to find data science that come with a lot of background on vulnerabilities. So like we try to help them and we try to train them as much as we can on what is the core source of that information, what that information looks like it is, because you need to put that into context so you can actually get out the most out of it. Like yeah, you can rely on machine learning algorithms and magic, whatever you want to call it. But at some point, you need to give the proper context and the usage of the data. Otherwise, you just have data points. You don't have information per se.
I mean, you can use the same data set for 2 different models. It's all about context.
Yeah.
I think you need to have a solid understanding in economics, and it's missing in data scientists these days.
Yeah.
So, like, the economy is fictitious. It does not exist whatsoever. I'm telling you now. Every measure in the economy is just a number. It doesn't bear any resemblance on real life at all. Economics is real. It's what you need, what you want, when you need it, when you want it. And a lot of data is misapplied in data science worlds horribly to produce the 2007 crash, possibly the 2019 crash, which is happening the week after next, which it is. Put me on record for that. But no, like economics is great. You can buy a book on it easily anywhere. It will really give you, like, it's like applied data science. And it will connect things up because it's a world of things. And coming to a bank or anywhere that wants a data scientist like that, knowing a little bit about supply chains, economics, what the right metrics to read, makes you like a really powerful data scientist. Like you can give brilliant examples and hit that. So that would be advice, just to read a little bit on that, enhance your skills.
We have one more question at the back. So is that gentleman got there first? Go on.
Yeah, I'll try to make it quick. So let's say you're about to hire someone, and you have like a choice between 2 people. First person is really good, but at a narrow field. Like he's really good with Python and let's say data science, for example. But whereas you have a second person who has like a really wide knowledge, he knows something about, I don't know, electronics and how computers work in generally, and a lot of other programming languages and things like that. But his knowledge out of all of those fields is slightly above average. So what would you prefer? I mean, does that count? Is that also acceptable?
That's the classic I-shaped versus T-shaped skills thing, isn't it? Like, do you want someone who's like an expert genius in assembly language but can do nothing else, or do you want someone who's got a wide breadth of things and like a deep set of knowledge in one topic? Yeah. That's a really interesting question. I think typically in Talix we typically look for someone who's got a wide set of skills because we want people who can jump in and help with multiple problems. But then again, like, I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to hiring someone who is a genius at C++ or something, like who really knows everything down to the bytecode. Because that could be tremendous value.
Yeah, I think there's no consistent answer to that.
There isn't a consistent answer.
Just for the record, actually, the question is essentially the hiring decision of a generalist versus a specialist.
Yeah. And I think a lot of it comes down to as well is the team that you're hiring for. You know, you could have 5 absolutely cracking Python developers, and you have an opening for something that maybe you're missing, and you're going to hire based on the need that you have. So that again comes down to asking the right questions in the interview, and them giving you the right information, or whether you're speaking to HR beforehand, is getting the knowledge of what it is that they're actually looking for, what gap are they looking to fill, and typically whoever they hire is filling that gap. So
it just depends on the current structure of the
company, 100%.
what you need, and
I mean, I've been in that hypothetical situation, and I don't make the hiring decisions, I just make the recommendations, so I just went, why not both?
Yeah.
And we
the
hired
most
both
common
people.
answer is go to the director and ask for another head.
Yeah, can I have this guy too?
Yeah.
So.
Just actually keep an eye on the time, because some of us have to do talks.
Do we?
Yeah.
I can't see these guys talk.
Sorry, just if anyone else jumps into that. Actually, sorry, just for the seniors we're stuck for time, I'll just take that last question there.
For me, it's just, you mentioned how important it is to have that experience, right? And you look the CVs and then you go to GitHub to look at everything. But how important it is to have actually a degree or some kind of certificate thing, because there are people that decide later to change to IT, and I studied by myself with help of mentors and all, can program nowadays, but I have nothing, absolutely nothing, but the whatever I can put in GitHub. So will you read the CV at first, or just because there is, nothing there to indicate that I can do it?
For me, only all I can say is, yeah, I would have it. I'd bring you in for an interview or at least a phone call to talk. But I couldn't guarantee. That's a very particular thing to a company, as some might have a strict, there has to be a degree to back it. Some mightn't, but I'm of the opinion that you never know who you're going to meet, so it'll be worth taking a phone call at least.
So I think just to repeat your question to the camera, so if anyone's listening back, you're asking about if you've changed areas and you don't really have a degree, is that something that instantly disqualifies you? In my case, I would say no. So some of the most exciting people I've interviewed in the last 12 months don't have a degree in anything computer science related at all. I've talked to people who are like oceanographers and someone who's got a degree in economics and all sorts of other random stuff. One of my colleagues has a PhD in classics. Like, he was a Latin teacher, and he's one of the best engineers I've ever worked with. So, I mean, I wouldn't discredit anyone from not having that. And I have a PhD myself in computer science. It's the world's best paperweight. No one's read it. No one cares where I work, what it's about. It's never come up. So if I wouldn't say no to anyone who doesn't have a PhD in CS or any degree in CS.
I think today it's not about what you have, it's what you can do in future.
Yeah.
What's the potential?
You hire from the system.
Just show that you have passion and hunger and potential.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what you have done.
Okay. I think we will wrap it up there, if that's all right. So I'd like to thank the panel for their contribution. Thank the audience for their contribution as well.
Yeah,
Please give the That's a wrap there. Okay.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.